welcome to H's interview. Powerful conversation to inspire. I'm Leo, and today I'm joined by Viktor Sághy, a transformative life coaching powered by the power of facilitated growth. In his own words, helping people to own their brilliance. So I'm wondering, Victor, how do people own their brilliance?
Thank you, Leo, for giving the space here, first of all. Like, I really, really appreciate this opportunity. And how do people own their brilliance? It sounds like I could tell someone how to know or own their brilliance, but I think what's great in coaching is that I don't need to sit up in a mountain because, like, we all in the same boat. And so coaching is about like two human beings being in the same boat. And definitely owning our brilliance is a journey, and it's not really a destination where we ever fully arrive. I think it's kind of the same, or it is and it's not. So there is a point where we lean into this kind of world of transformation and discover more and more about ourselves. And I think that's the point where we start to own our brilliance and we feel like we own, and it's also a continuous journey. How do people own their brilliance? Now, probably I tell a little bit of story about myself, how I found and started to own my own brilliance. And it's the typical hero's journey. So when we talk about brilliance, very often one of the best pointer is our biggest story or our biggest trauma, right? Mine was that I'm not good enough. So my parents divorced, and I took my dad leaving us as I did something wrong, or more importantly, I'm wrong. Something is not good enough about me. And as we human beings do, we apply some sort of band-aid to that. We, as a child, we come up with some sort of solution to not to get to that place ever. So what is the most sensible way of overcoming not being good enough is to always trying to be on top, right? So my way was first with art, just trying to be brilliant in art, trying to shine and show myself that I'm worthy, and try to outshine others, and these kind of things. Then in fitness, then trying in business. But the problem is that I always put my own self-worth and brilliance to happen someday. And the problem with someday always remains someday. It's never going to happen. And might everyone can relate to this, that we all have some sort of thought or story about ourselves, which we like to revisit over and over. And so my first step into owning my brilliance was working with my first coach and understanding what have been driving me to trying to be good enough, and that made me a high performer. But on the other side, I always sabotaged myself to be great, because the belief says that I'm not good enough. So I'm always trying to be good, but never to be great or brilliant, right? And with my first coach, we worked on that. And I started to understand my story and understand that behind that lack, there is actually a calling. There is actually something which is empowering something that I can give to the world. And from that, I created the brand first, the innately whole, which came from a meditation, is that in our core, we are innately whole. And then where you really can own your brilliance, it's something that I'm really discovering recently, is that even though my mind likes to revisit that thought that I'm not good enough, because that's like a deeply rooted personality thing, a trauma, whatever. Even though my mind likes to revisit it, I'm not that thought. I don't have to believe. And even if there are thoughts and feelings, I don't have to be caught up in them. And there is just so much freedom and choice and performance and empowerment in that understanding. And I would say how I'm understanding owning our brilliance now is really that, to understand how we human beings work. And when we understand that, we actually have so much more choice because we're not caught up in our own limitations. So that's a very long-winded answer to how do people own their brilliance.
Thank you so much for sharing that. I think we all often get caught up in the trap, don't we, of having to be perfect all the time. Everything we try and do, we try and make it perfect. And I think it's really important to remember that in order to learn, we need to make mistakes. By making those mistakes, that's how we grow and develop.
Yeah, most definitely. Like something I've been called into literally this week, or I was called into this week, is to look at the word or relate to my word like failure is just an illusion, because it is. Just as not being good enough is a thought, the failure as a concept is just a thought too. And I love how you framed it, that failure is the only way we learn and really the only way we create anything. So I think like I can just imagine what that could bring to the world if we could embrace failure in this way a little bit more.
Yeah, for sure, And I think that if we were all prepared to see failure as a step to success, I think, failure would not feel as daunting, perhaps. So I wanted to ask you, what inspires you?
What inspires me? To that question, the very first thing comes to my mind, for example, is you. Like I remember the first, like some, and what I mean, something that you represent in this story. The first time I came through your social profile, I was so inspired by how you show up that I actually dreamt about you that night. And I think what that tells is how we human beings are being in any situation, how we human beings are being in the face of adversity. I think the fact that you have a disability is just so beautifully represents the nature of existence, or the how it represents the condition of being a human, right? That we all face with things that we all find hard in some way. But I think what inspires me and what inspired me when I was looking at how you boxing and doing all sort of this stuff is that you were like, okay, I have this obstacle and we all can imagine our version of that. I think that's the beauty in it. And I choose to do it anyway. I choose to show up in a certain way. There is another guy who said me something very profound. I kind of had the sense of this, but couldn't put so beautifully in words. And something to know about this person is that he had a stroke, and one half of his body more or less got paralyzed. He can move it to a very little degree, and he runs marathons. He said, like, look, what happened with me is not my fault, but what I do with it is my responsibility. And I find that beautiful. So I say it again, what happened with me is not my fault, but what I do with it is my responsibility. So that's what inspires me, responsibility. And don't get mistaken, it's challenging. Taking responsibility for something that we feel victimed by or we find hard is challenging by nature. And I think that kind of leap, that kind of jump, that kind of leaning into it is what's inspiring. It's like not feeling fear, but courage is to feel the fear and do it with the fear, do it anyway. And I think that's where coaching is beautiful, that, it helps us to be enrolled in their own transformation, is to, together with someone, you look at the challenges and also the dreams of your life. And you can see, okay, how can I take responsibility? Because really, only once I see things and once I take responsibility for how things are, that's the point I can make a difference. And I love that coaching can help with that.
Yeah, like you said, that awareness that some people have of, the obstacles or the challenges they have, that willingness to be aware of them, but still to go forward and to utilize them. And I think when we connected online, and I looked at all your content, what I was drawn to was how you were not afraid to be kind of vulnerable and share your story with your audience and with your clients. And I think when we do that, we become a lot more relatable to the people we hope to help.
Yeah, and you know what, it has been, and it is a journey for me to this day. It never was. I found it challenging to be vulnerable. I mean, I'm generally a very open person, and I can speak openly about things, but speaking openly on social media, I found it in a whole new level, and it took me time to embrace it. And with clients as well, because for a long time as a coach, I had the belief that I need to be in a better place, or I need to have some level of perfection in order for me to be legitimate as a coach.
Yeah.
But what I found over the years that couldn't be further from the truth, that people might want to be mentored or told by a guru what to do, but I was a victim of that by myself. I made myself a victim of believing in gurus, and it didn't help me at all, quite the opposite. And that was one thing that drove me to coaching is I found out later is that once you can connect to another human being as a human being, it's like you got validated for being human. And there's a huge hope and empowerment in that, because now it's like, okay, if he's a human, if he is with me, and we both believe in this dream that it's possible, it might just be. And I started to share with my clients my shortcomings and my own struggles. I started to share on social media, and sometimes I still find myself in that place when it's challenging. And at the same time, what we just talked before, I think leaning into that edge and practicing something that comes maybe hard first is where the real brilliance is, right? So yeah, that's how, or that's why I find it actually useful, actually practically useful to be vulnerable with each other.
Yeah, I totally agree. I think some of the best coaches I've come across are the ones who are over to the real and the ones who are willing to share that story and share that, they're not perfect because no one is. We all have our flaws, and just because we become coaches, it doesn't mean we are sorted. We're
Of
all
course.
the journey. So that brings me to my next question for you. So what difference would you like to see or make in the world?
What difference I would like to see? This changes from year to year, from time to time, and I can only answer what because I'm changing, I'm discovering new ways for myself that I find helpful. So what I can tell at the moment, what I would love to see and I would love to make as a difference is for people to see that just because they think or feel something, it doesn't mean that it's true.
Yeah.
And to accept the simplicity of that, because once we accept that, it the solution is so simple, then we 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 come to see the real power of it. Let me tell a story. This happened with a client of mine, so I will share it in a way that protects the identity.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I'm gonna change the name and details and be a little bit vague about it, but I think the story still holds power. So there's this client of mine who have gone through a terminal illness, and 5 years ago. And so that's something that we figured out during our conversations, because first when she came, she was like, I want to make changes in my life.
Yeah.
But what we identified that the reason she doesn't make changes because there are a couple of beliefs, variations of I'm not good enough, I'm not worthy, I don't have the ability to be happy. So then I don't trust myself to be able to create the experiences I want in my life.
Yeah.
And actually, when we talked further, she identified, so we discovered and she realized that actually she had this powerful experience when she had terminal illness, and what she believes that's responsible for she being alive to this day is that she just made a decision that she gonna get through it, and it didn't take a lot of work. It didn't take anything hard or long or grueling or anything like that. It was just a decision. And it points to something deeper, is that very often we struggle with these beliefs of not being good enough. What if I fail? What will others think of me? Can I really achieve it? And those beliefs feel and seem really real to us. But just like the lady, we all have the ability to just make a change or make a decision. Now, this understanding that I was touched on very, very briefly really helps with that. And I find with my personality and my thinking of not being good enough, even that visits me from time to time, I'm able to have more and more of a distance from it. And through that, more of a freedom. I've met and spoke with people who have been struggling with these in their entire life for many, many years. And just by getting this understanding within a session, things start to shift dramatically. Things that they have been trying to figure out, sometimes with therapists for years.
Yeah.
So this I find this is really useful for me, and seems that some of the people I work with find it useful as well.
Yeah, I think a lot of people kind of assume that when we want to make big changes in our life, it will take a long time, and that's not really the truth. I think when you change your mindset and you choose to become kind of different in your behavior, or you decide to make that change. I think any change, whether it really big or tiny, I think it can be done kind of in a heartbeat, really.
Yeah, and of course, like every case is different, and I do value long-term coaching relationships when actually you step on a long journey. But as you say, really, like sometimes we fall into the trap that we need to do long work, and sometimes things can shift if we ready for it. Yeah, I love that. What you mentioned
Yeah.
there.
Well, I did don't see for hours that I was having to keep this under 20. We constantly other, but that again. So I would like to thank you very much for joining me. And I wonder, could you tell everyone where and how people can connect with you?
Okay. First of all, thank you for the space again. I always love to talk with you. And hey, guys, like I had a couple of conversations with Leo before, and I can just recommend this guy. Like he is really empowerment. I can say, if you want to contact with me, one of the easiest way is through Facebook Messenger. Friend me, and we can have a conversation, or through Instagram. I'm on Facebook, Instagram, TikTok. I'm on YouTube as well. I haven't done that a while now. Really, the best is Facebook or Instagram. I do have a website. The easiest to find me is just my name. You should see there, Viktor Sághy. Viktor with a K, because I'm from Hungary, Europe, and Sághy is Saghy. Viktor Sághy, Saghy. If you type in my name, you should find a bunch of links, and I'm sure you will find me, and just say hi.
Great. Well, I will share all your links and how to spell your name. I will share that in the description of this video. So, yeah. So that's it for today, guys. Thank you, everyone, for watching this and H's interview. We'll be back soon with another powerful conversation. Bye for now.